Proverbs chapter 7. We're looking at the words of the wise and the ways of God. How many bibliophiles do I have in the room? If you are one, if you know, you know. All right, how many book lovers? There we go, book lover. And so there is nothing more special for me than getting a new book. What's the first thing you do when you're looking for a book on the shelf? I'm probably the only one, but I smell it. Anyone else? I'm like, oh man, there's just the fresh smell of a new book. And so I get a book or my Amazon package will come in and man, I will run downstairs barefoot out to the front and I just love a new book. And so maybe you read the back of the book. What's this book about? Here's what I do. After I sniff it on the shelf, if it doesn't pass the sniff test, your boy's not buying it, all right? So the first thing I do at the bookstore, I smell it. If it passes the sniff test, then here's what I do. I open it and I read the blurbs. Anybody else look at the blurbs? I read the blurbs. I want to hear from people who have been impacted by the truth of this book. And so what I do is I look through the names. Do I recognize anybody? You know, I'm reading this book right now, Fitness After 40. Never too late to start, you know. But, you know, you read the back of the book and you're like, oh, Gloria Beam, MD, physician of the U.S. track cycling team. Okay, I want to hear what she has to say. Marge Albaum, the president of the National Athletic Trainers Association. Wow, I'm looking for sponsors. I'm looking for people who can verify this book is worth listening to. And if the blurbs on the back of the book are good, then I think the book might be good. I might give it a chance. And so this morning, we have one of our favorite guest speakers coming to the stage in just a moment. But before she speaks, I want you to just listen to this testimonial. I want to share with you a blurb from the back of the book from someone who has implemented this woman's teaching, someone whose life has been impacted by her content. And after you listen to this testimonial, I want you to give it up for our guest speaker this morning. And her name is Lady Wisdom. Check it out, Proverbs 7. My son, keep my words and treasure up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend, to keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words. If I could summarize the blurb on the back of the book this morning, what the Father is saying to the Son is this: keep wisdom, and she will keep you. Wisdom is personified as a woman, and she shows up and she instructs and she teaches and she calls people to come to her to learn and to live. The value of her teaching and her tutelage cannot be overstated. And so this Father this morning is urging you, he's urging me to value what she has to say. The blurb on the back of the book says, listen to her. She will change your life. She will prevent you from destruction and ruin. Listen to her. Sell everything you have and buy this book. And so he says it here. Look at all of these urgings. Look just right through the text. He says, treasure her. Treasure it. Regard her as extremely valuable. Treat her instruction as more valuable than money because it will go further than money. I love what he says here. Make it the apple of your eye. Cherish this above all else. Make this the object of your focus. Pay close attention. When wisdom walks into the room, get that sparkle and say to her, you're the apple of my eye. I love what he says, bind them on your finger, right? Don't just take this book and put it on the shelf, like tie a string around your finger so that way the teachings and the content is always at the forefront of your mind. Remember this. He says, write it on the tablets of your heart. You got to internalize this. Memorize this. Memorize it. Practice it at night. Practice it in the morning. Write it on your heart. He says, treat wisdom like your sister, like that familial love. Treat her like your most intimate friend, as dear as your spouse. The blurb continues. Look 3 times. Keep them, keep them, keep them. Follow them carefully. Conform your life to her teachings. Are you getting the back of the book? Are you picking up what he's putting down this morning? There was a lot of urging to come and sit on the couch and listen to wisdom. A lot of urging this morning because, friends, if you were to come and sit down and listen to wisdom, you would not just become book smart, you would become life smart. You see, wisdom concerns herself with what is extremely practical, not just book smart, life smart. She will teach you how to do very practical things. She'll teach you how to be a good neighbor. She'll teach you how to handle your finances. She'll talk to you about your work ethic and how that will help your finances. She will talk to you about anything and everything that is extremely practical so that you're not just book smart, you're life smart. And so there are moments, even like this morning, where she's even willing to talk to you, men and women in this room, on how to remain faithful to your spouse. You need to be life smart, friends, not just book smart, life smart. She will teach you this morning how to remain faithful to your spouse, even while living in a culture that encourages and celebrates infidelity. If we listen today, she would say this. She would say, brothers and sisters, bring it in. If you're going to avoid the snare of adultery, if you're going to remain faithful to your spouse, then there is a character out there that you need to know about. And who is this character? The forbidden woman. Now again, she's talking to young men here, right? But this obviously applies to both genders. There is a person out there, as soon as you leave here, you'll meet them on the street. There is a person who is off limits. This person is out of bounds. Why? Because you have already vowed your life, love, and faithfulness to another person. Or in this woman's situation, you will find out that she is doubly off limits because she has also bound and vowed her love, life, and faithfulness to another. And so we need to know about this forbidden person. And so wisdom says, come one, come all. Come, you don't have to have any money. You don't have to be a super smart. You just have to be wise enough to know that you need wisdom. And so come one, come all. For those of you in the room who know that none of us are above temptation, take a seat. For those of you in this room who want to know how to remain faithful in a culture that encourages and celebrates unfaithfulness, come and be made more wise. For those of you who desire to escape the allure of sexual immorality, she says, come and learn freely. Blessed is the one who pays attention, for she will keep you from destruction. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. And so, okay, enough of an introduction. So I'm going to invite her onto the stage here, and she's going to share a story with you this morning. It's a tragedy, full disclosure. She's going to share a story. This is about a man who did not keep wisdom. This is a story about a man who ignored the guidance of wisdom, and we call this story the cost of ignoring wisdom. This is a story in 3 parts, so let's listen. Part number 1, we see it in verse 6. For at the window of my house, I have looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths a young man lacking sense, passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house in the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. All right, the story already. We're not set up for success, are we? I want to introduce you. Number 1, the fool who ignored wisdom. The fool who ignored wisdom. We see this man, he is in the wrong place at the wrong time. And typically, we use that phrase to refer to people who show up in the wrong place by accident. But there's no accidents here. This man is intentionally going to the wrong place at the wrong time. Why? Well, it says it here in verse 7. He is a youth. He's a youth. Now, let's be clear. This is not talking about his age. Just as white hair is the classic picture of a wise person, youthfulness is the classic picture of naivete, immaturity. And so don't get it wrong here, okay? The point is not his age. This is a picture of a person who lacks sense, regardless of your age, okay? And so if we got some gray in the room, don't turn it off. Don't go, oh, this doesn't apply to me. No. This man is a fool by definition, not because of his age, but because he doesn't keep wisdom. And as a matter of fact, if you look at it, he actually ignores wisdom. He mutes and turns off wisdom. Because if you remember last summer, wisdom actually warned us about this neighborhood. Take a look, Proverbs chapter 5, wisdom said this: keep your way far from her and do not go near the door of her house. Wisdom says, don't even go down the street, detour, GPS it in a different direction, pay the tolls if you need to. And so what does this man do? He takes the road to her house. Can you imagine his thought process as he walks down the street? Wiz, I get what you're saying. I know what you mean, but I'm just going for a walk. It's not a big deal. Wisdom, I know what you mean, but I'm just going to go to the corner and I just want to look down the street. I just want to see if her lights are on. I'm not going to go anywhere. I know what you mean, but you know what? The nature and the sun, and this is so much more of a beautiful walk anyway, and that walk really does wonders for my endorphins. And so I'm just going to go on a walk, and I'm not. Can you imagine his thought process? He's rationalizing. He is lying to himself about his motives. And while he's trying to justify his foolish actions, he's only lying to himself. And in the process of lying to himself about his motives, he's just betrayed himself. Anyone else familiar with this process? Anyone else ever find themselves walking toward sin, and yet you're over-explaining or explaining away your true motives? And in reality, we're only lying to ourselves. By not being honest about our motives, we are giving ourselves permission to ignore wisdom, and we are setting ourselves up for failure. This is what the fool is doing. But his foolishness only gets worse, because check this out. Not only is he ignoring wisdom, he's playing a little game of hide and seek. He's actually hiding from wisdom. Look what it says here. He is walking. When is he walking? In the evening, at twilight, at the time of night and darkness. Why is he walking down this street at that time of night? So that he could have the secrecy of night. In the darkness, he can avoid those knowing looks. In the twilight, he can avoid his friends who would be very quick to point out his foolishness and call him out for his motives. You see, this is what we do when we're hiding from the hard questions, isn't it? We turn off the lights. This is what we do when we want to avoid the hard questions and the heart-probing questions, and we want to just silence wisdom and hide from her. What we do is we tend to take a play straight out of the fool's playbook. Oh, it exists, friends. It's a real thing. The fool's playbook. And here's their play. Play number 1, exchange accountability for secrecy. Exchange accountability for secrecy. Here's the second play. Avoid situations where you need to explain your faulty logic. Play number 3, avoid at all costs heart-probing questions. You see, in the dark, we can steer clear of Lady Wisdom. In the dark, we can do what we want and lie to ourselves. Keep wisdom, and she'll keep you. But if you ignore her, if you avoid her instruction, the instruction that she often communicates through other people, you might be the fool who ignored wisdom and find yourselves in the wrong place at the wrong time on purpose. So part 1, the fool who ignored wisdom. All right, now it's time to meet the next character here. Check it out, verse 10. And behold, the woman meets him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. She seizes him and kisses him, and with bold face she says to him, "Oh, I had to offer sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows, so now I have come out to meet you. to seek you eagerly, and I have found you. I have spread my couch with coverings, colored linens from Egyptian linen. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. For my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took a bag of money with him. At full moon, he will come home. We met the fool who ignored wisdom. Look at this. Now we have the woman who opposed wisdom. So this man's taking a walk, just going down the street, just want to have a nice little nature walk at midnight, like we all do. And as he passes by her part of the street, he slows down a little bit, and out comes running this woman to meet him. And when you look at the way she's dressed, when you look at the way she spends her time, it becomes clear she is dangerous. She dresses like this. She spends her time wandering around town like this. Why? Because she is already unfaithful in her heart. Her actions, her itinerary, and her wardrobe betray a heart that is actively looking for an opportunity to be unfaithful. She did not end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. She is actively looking. It says she is wily of heart. She is conniving. This is what makes her so dangerous. And so we have two women today, okay? On this side, Lady Wisdom, calling and pleading and urging you, come and live. And on this side, we have the woman who's like, psh, wisdom, schmisdom, come to me. Come and experience fun. Just come and live. She is actively calling us, luring and enticing us. And friends, here's what wisdom wants you to know as you listen to her call. I'm going to keep it real here. She's good. I mean, she knows what she's doing. Look at her appeals here. I just want to break it down. Like, this is masterclass level seduction. Look at all of the different appeals that she uses to get her hooks in this young man. Her seduction is cunning. First, we see this physical appeal. She seizes him, inappropriate touch, right? She seizes him. She lays it on him, kisses him. And there's a physical appeal. There's, whoa, this man's already in on it. There's a spiritual appeal. Do you see what she says? She's, oh, I'm out of breath. Do you know how many sacrifices I had to offer today at the temple? Oh my goodness, I had to go to the temple. I had to make vows. I prayed for 4 hours, and spiritual manipulation. She loves God. How bad can this be? Let me just say it here, friends, right? Jesus at the center of our relationship is a really cool tagline that can be used as a veneer to cover some really unhealthy situations. With bold face, I'm spiritual too. I serve God too. Come on. Man, look at the other appeal. There's an emotional appeal, right? She gets this guy center scope and she says, it's you. I have found you. I have eagerly been searching all day for you. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about you. She's not looking for you. But this emotional appeal makes it feel like you're the most important person in the world. It's you I've been looking for. No, it's a lie. She's been wanting to just satisfy her unfaithfulness, and you're the latest victim. It's you. Makes him feel special. This one, I just admitted that I'm very motivated by smells, and so this one's hard, but there's an appeal to the senses. Look what she does with her linens and her perfumes. She's got that fine Egyptian linen. How many of you are sleeping on Egyptian linen these days? Nope, not me. But apparently she is. She says, my bed looks good. My bed smells good. And here's what happens in our brain. How can something that looks so good be so bad? Our olfactory system, they say, is one of the strongest of our 5 senses, our sniffer. Our sniffer can store memories. And so there's this appeal even to the senses that overloads us. And we go, but it feels right, and it looks right, and it smells right. And wisdom is like, don't fall for it. It's so wrong. There's a romantic appeal. Let's take our fill of love until morning. She's like dropping an R&B song right here, midnight on the porch. I'm not going to sing it for you. I know you want me to. But she's rapping at him. She's spitting game. She's dropping bars. She's like dropping a mixed track. She's like, baby, let's go. Don't fall for it. And then here's the strongest one. And this, like, it makes my heart drop, because this is where, like, all of us, none of us are above temptation. The strongest appeal of them all, the appeal of no consequences. What does she say? She's like, my man's not even home. He's not just out to the grocery store. Homeboy took a giant bag of gold, and he'll be gone for a fortnight. In other words, what's her appeal? No one needs to know. No one will ever know. How many stupid things would we do if not for God's grace of consequences? How many foolish things would we do if the Lord did not deter our silly, fickle hearts with the brass tacks of consequences? My husband's not at home. She's good. Friends, the forbidden woman, the forbidden man, sexual immorality, they are good. Is it any wonder that wisdom says, don't even go near her house because she's undefeated? Don't even go near her house. Don't even play yourself thinking, no, but like they fell, but not me. Not me. I'm strong. Not me. I'm immune to that. Famous last words. I can do this and not. I can break my guardrails and boundaries and not. I can step over the do not cross sign. I can go behind the police line that says no further. I can do that because I'm a man of God. Because I'm super spiritually strong. Because it's me. And the person who says it's me will soon be hearing, it's you. She's good. And in this story, I'll be clear, I've said it already. In this story, it's a woman, but in our society, whether it's a man or a woman, you must be ready, church. You will meet people, you will encounter people who are unfaithful in their heart. And here's one of the little litmus tests. It says here, they are not homeward, they are wayward. Their heart and their mind, the place where they want to spend their leisure time is not at home with their wife, husband, children, kids, right? No, it says they may be standing here, but they're looking, where can I go? Right? And they're gallivanting around and they're looking for opportunity. Their hearts are wandering, wanting to satisfy their unfaithful hearts. These people are dangerous. They are too good. They are too wily. And so wisdom says to you today, do not engage. Do not approach them. Run like your life depended on it. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. Listen to wisdom this morning, and she will warn you of the person who is, look what it says, lying in wait. But she's not lying in wait for a lover. She's lying in wait for a victim. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. And so we have the foolish man. He meets the forbidden woman. She has seduced him. The lure is potent. The appeal is magnetic. Is there any chance that this man makes it out alive? Is there any chance that this man who has wandered down the street, who has fallen into her snare, is there any chance that he makes that alive? Not a chance. Look at the last part of our story, verse 21. With much seductive speech, she persuades him. With her smooth talk, she compels him. All at once, he follows her. As an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its liver. As a bird rushes into a snare, he does not know that it will cost him his life. And now, O sons, listen to me and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths, for many a victim has she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to the chambers of death. And so we've seen the fool who ignored wisdom. We've seen the woman who opposed wisdom. And now we see the consequences of lacking wisdom. By the time he's on her doorstep, she persuades him. It says it here, with much seductive speech. She's trying to convince him, right? So you just imagine, he's walking down the street, she rushes out, she's at the top of her stairs on the porch, on the stoop, and just little by little, she's wooing him up the stairs, closer and closer to the front door, and he's standing here in front of the door, and it says she compels him, she persuades him, and he steps over the threshold and into her house. Never in his life has such a short walk cost him so much. You know how it's like popular to count your steps? Any of you close your circles, you close your rings, you count your steps? I'm gonna start doing this just so I can get my steps in while I'm preaching, you know? Like, you're supposed to get so many steps. Never in his life has one step cost him so much. And it says here, he's like an ox. Right? I looked up an ox just to make sure I was not failing in my Eastern Shore metaphors. An ox is a bull that's been castrated. Did you guys know that? Is that right? Maybe I should have fact-checked Google. Anyway, it's an ox, right? And you imagine this ox takes a walk every day. Go get the grass, come on back. Gonna go eat the grass, come on back. He wakes up every day thinking it's just another walk. And on the day that he's being slaughtered for meat, he has no idea. Just going for a walk. No, you're not, buddy. Say goodbye to your moo-moo family, right? In the same way, this man is taking a walk and he has no idea because this walk will be his last walk. This walk will be the last walk of everything he's ever known. Why? It will cost him his life, just as it did for every one of her many victims. And the story ends. The story ends right here tragically. Look how it ends. With the man walking inside, the door closing behind him, and the screen goes black. And when he walks into that house, you know what he's going to find? He's going to find a mighty throng. He's going to find all the bodies. He's going to realize very quickly that it was not you. And as he walks in, when it's too late, he's going to see many a victim, the throng of bodies piled up on the side as the door shuts behind him. And it'll be too late. Because in that moment, he is now going to learn what every other victim before him learned, the cost of ignoring wisdom. This is why wisdom invites you to learn this morning. This is why wisdom has these real talk conversations on the couch, because wisdom can see farther than you. Maybe you have 20/20 vision. Maybe you pride yourself on being a strategic planner. Maybe you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. Maybe you've already had your retirement portfolio is already perfectly mapped out. I promise you, wisdom can see further than you. Wisdom can see farther than you. Wisdom plays the movie out. And her vision is something to be treasured, something to be valued. We keep her instruction. And so wisdom finishes this tragic episode. She looks at all of us. We feel the heaviness of this story. And she says, here's the moral of the story. Do not stray near her. Here's the moral of the story. Stay far away from her. Do not go near sexual immorality. To reject this wisdom is to embrace death. Her way is the way to Sheol. Remember, wisdom wants to teach us. It wants us to become skilled in the art of choosing life well. That is not a good way. That way leads to death. But if you keep wisdom, she will keep you. Keep wisdom. Bind it on your hearts. Bind it on your fingers. Write it on the tablet of your heart. Make it the apple of your eye. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. The end. That's a terrifying story, isn't it? Here's what makes that so terrifying. It could be any of us. And it has been many of us. This is a terrifying story. But here's the good news. God's wisdom doesn't just invite us to come sit on the couch. Wisdom sees you out there living dangerously, walking the perilous line, and God's wisdom is so loving that wisdom got up off of the couch, put on flesh, and came to us, and his name is Jesus. God's wisdom, Jesus Christ, he comes to those of us who are unable to listen to wisdom. He comes to those of us in this room who we wince when we hear this story because it hits too close to home, and we get a little bit nervous because we go, man, that could be me. God's wisdom, Jesus Christ, he comes to those of us who are addicted to the allure of sin. Those of us who have been fools, who have fallen prey to adultery, if not in our actions, then at least in our hearts. God's wisdom comes and he says to you, repent. Come to me. Come and find life. And when you come to Jesus, here's what he does for us. Number one, he forgives us. Do you know what it's like to be forgiven? Do you know what it's like to have the label, foolish youth, stripped off of you and to be now called son or daughter of God? Do you know what it's like to have the scarlet letter removed as far as the east is from the west, to be forgiven and made pure and clean and to be loved? He forgives us. And then here's what else he does. He frees us. He breaks the chains of addiction. He removes our status of slave to sin. And now we are a child of God. And the powerlessness that we once felt, right? The allure that just felt impossible to ignore, it is snapped and we are free. The Holy Spirit living inside of us to actually obey God and listen to his wisdom. So he forgives us, he frees us, and here's the best part, friends. He forms us. You do not have to be the same person tomorrow that you are today. You can grow in faith when you walk with Jesus daily and you sit at his feet and you open up his word and you pray and you talk to God every single day. He will transform you from one degree of glory to another. And we like to say it this way at Eastpoint Church. Spiritually speaking, 1 year from now, you won't even recognize yourself. Do you believe that? Have you experienced that at Eastpoint Church? 1 year from now, you won't even recognize yourself spiritually speaking. Why? Because the God who forgives us and the God who frees us is also the God who forms us. And so listen to wisdom. Keep wisdom, and she will keep you. And wisdom says, listen to Jesus. Come to God. Experience redemption, regardless of your past, and be made new. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we love you, Lord. Even in these heavy passages, in these tragic stories, we cling to your word as our saving grace. And so, Father, number one, would you forgive us? Jesus said that adultery starts in the heart. He said to the Pharisees, you who have even looked at another with lustful intent have already committed adultery in your heart. Lord, who among us is perfectly innocent? So would you forgive us? Lord, would you free us from the power of sin? Remind us that we are no longer slaves, but we are free to obey you and to walk in the light. And Lord, would you form us? Change us from the inside out. We want to be a people that just keep it real. We don't have to hide. We're not living behind masks. We're not trying to pretend. We are sinners. We are jacked up. And we don't mind mentioning it because we serve a God who is forming us day by day from one degree of glory to another so that we look more like Jesus. And so, Lord, I pray that you would protect this church. Protect my brothers and sisters. Keep their marriages strong. Keep their vows intact. Inoculate them, Lord, by your Spirit against the allure of immorality. Father, I pray that even today and this week, that man and wife would look each other in the eyes and remind each other, I have vowed my life and love to you. Father, I pray for our singles, that they would live out every single day with their sexual integrity, not just holding on until they can get married, but no, practicing the very virtues they will need to remain faithfully married. Make us like Jesus. Cast our eyes on Jesus, who was perfectly moral, who maintained his integrity, who was tempted in every way and yet never sinned. Help us to please you in everything that we do. We love you, Lord, and we thank you. In Jesus' name, the church said.